Good evening everyone and welcome to an Oz Cyclone Chasers update tonight, the 21st of February 2013. Firstly, a big thank you to everyone on our social media following. Our Facebook likes have clicked over 30,000. You can see there on your screen almost 32,000 tonight. And we've also had 40,000 views of our video updates in the past 30 days, which is just amazing and phenomenal. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for your support in watching those, and if you do happen to click on an advertisement that you like, that supports us as well, so thank you to all of those. And also we've had almost 40,000 views of our website in the past month, so there's a lot happening on Oz Cyclone Chasers, and we haven't even chased a cyclone yet, so thank you very much for your support, even though we haven't had a chance to repay that by a cyclone chase. Unfortunately, if the WA system does happen, our WA resident chaser there, Steve Brooks, won't be available to take that on, unfortunately due to personal reasons. So this one we will have to sit on the sidelines for, but we'll make sure next season we do cover the WA as well. Alright, let's get into WA now, and let's talk a lot about what's going to happen in the future, or let's speculate at least about what's going to happen in the future based on some modelling data and a chat about the steering level flows and what could possibly steer this system and what sort of intensity it could get to in the longer term. Alright, so let's get into it, folks. Alright, firstly let's take a look at the northeastern region, and where we've got a low pressure system out here in the northern Tasman or southern Coral Sea. It's going to push back to the west-southwest, and it's going to eventually hit the coast over northern New South Wales. Now that low pressure system is likely to bring with it some very heavy rainfall, some very strong winds, probably even approximating what we would expect in it's not a tropical cyclone, let me stress that, and it won't form into one, but it will, some of the conditions that you'll experience, especially if you're south of it or southeast of it, it will approximate what you'd expect in a Category 1 cyclone. You're going to get some very strong winds, you're going to get some very heavy rain with it. So certainly something to watch out for, but as I say, not tropical, so we're not going to cover it in any more detail. It does look like it's going to hit the northern parts of New South Wales, so anywhere to the south, as I say, to the south of that is where the real weather's going to be. There might be some showers and storms and other sorts of things up here towards the southeast Queensland, but really we're looking at the intense activity further to the south. Alright, looking at the Coral Sea, a lot of wind shear. You can see here the storms developing in the Coral Sea, getting pushed very, very quickly out to the east, so no chance of cyclone development in the Coral Sea in any foreseeable future whatsoever. So let's get into the real area. Alright, the real area out here. We've got two low pressure systems. The first one out here getting hit with a little bit of wind shear. The second one that we're really focused on is developing here just to the northwest of Darwin, and it's currently located by the Bureau at about 11 south 129 east, and it's pushing to the west-southwest or southwest. It's going to push into this region off the North Kimberley coast. It's going to further develop over the next few days. It will eventually form into a cyclone probably early next week or late in the weekend. There's also a race on to see which one's going to be Rusty and which one's going to be Sandra, because there's two lows that are likely to form into cyclones. There's one out here which will push either to the south or southwest, and there's another one here which will push to the west and then probably towards the south. So it's a race against time to see which one's going to be Rusty and which one's going to be Sandra. Other than our two lows, we've still got some very good convective activity over the Kimberley. We've got some really good thunderstorm activity over the top end, and even the northeastern top end getting in on the act today, and also the southwestern parts of the Gulf country, which has been missing out a lot in most of the thunderstorm activity. So that's good to see that those areas are firing. So let's take a closer look at the circulation that we're all wondering about, and this is the one off to the west of Darwin, or west-northwest of Darwin, and we can see it sort of starting to form a little bit of a circular feature here. Now it's very fickle as to where you'd place the centre at the moment, just because it's so weak. But you can see coming in towards it, we've got a 20 knot northwesterly, we've got a 20 knot southeasterly, so we've got good convergence coming into the system. So we will see this system push towards the west for the time being, and get out here in the Timor Sea and the Southeast Indian Ocean, and further develop and possibly rapidly develop late in the weekend or early next week into a tropical cyclone. There's a lot of good conditions happening for it, low vertical wind shear, all the right things are happening for it. So as it pushes out here over the weekend, it will continue to develop. You'll see these wind barbs continue to show stronger and stronger winds and they'll start to wrap tighter around a circulation center. So at the moment you could place the center here where Colorado State have it, or you can place the center a little bit further to the north where the Bureau of Meteorology have it. You could really place multiple centers in this low pressure system at the moment. Now, the reason I show this to you is because until we can pinpoint a low pressure center, circulation center, it's going to be difficult for models to accurately pick this system up and then move it in an accurate way, or give it an accurate representation of what it's going to do in the future. So we're still probably 24 hours, maybe even 48 hours away from models being able to do that effectively. So do take whatever the models show, and I'll go through the model shortly. Do take it with a grain of salt, because they're still struggling to actually find and pinpoint the circulation center, because there is none at this stage. So bear that in mind, please, people, as I show these to you. So the first model we'll take a look at is the Bureau of Meteorology's model, and this is courtesy of weatherzone.com.au, which provides some excellent weather graphics for across Australia. And we can see here we've got one very, very weak and broad low pressure area here. Over the next 24 hours, that starts to, it's still very weak, mind you. It does start to consolidate a little. No real sign other than an increase in rainfall of where the actual tropical low that we're really going to focus on is at that stage by tomorrow morning. But by Saturday morning, we start to see both of these lows intensifying, and we start to finally make out where we're starting to focus our attention on by Saturday, which is just north of the North Kimberley coastline with this system here. Now, as I said, there's a race against time to see which one's named, but really, folks, this one out here is not going to come back and affect, or I won't say is not, but it's very unlikely to come back towards the coast of WA. Really, our focus is this system here. What might happen, though, is the systems get too close together. There may be a little bit of interaction between them, and that will actually help to slow down the developmental process. Now, that could be a key factor in how intense the system gets. So if they get too close together, they start, rather than feeding off each other, they start stealing a bit of energy from each other, if you like, and so they do limit their ability to rapidly form. So that is something to watch. Look, at this stage, they're unlikely to be close enough together to do that. But if they do get a little closer than expected, then expect to see strengthening at a much slower rate than we would otherwise expect. But let's just focus on what we've got at the moment on the models rather than what-if scenarios. So at the moment, we'll have two low-pressure systems on Saturday morning. By Sunday morning, both of them rapidly start to intensify. And as I say, race against time as to whether this one gets named or whether this one gets named. By Sunday, folks, this is the area we need to watch. That will eventually, when we show you the longer term models, you'll see it'll get a little bit further out to the west, and then what it does from there will be all important, whether it pushes in towards Broome, whether it pushes south towards Headland, whether it pushes somewhere in between, or whether it even pushes a little bit further to the west. So a lot of variance in what happens after that. So we're going to look at the European model now. The European model are widely regarded as the most accurate global computer forecast model for weather. And we have a look at the low pressure area already formed out here. We also see that the model is struggling to pick up the start of the low pressure region here in the Timor Sea that we're really watching. Now, because it's struggling at this moment in time to pick it up, everything that it shows after that becomes very dubious because of that. So be aware that just because this model is showing this, the fact that it hasn't picked up the initialized low pressure region out here to the northwest of Darwin, and we can see that it hasn't done that, therefore we do need to take whatever it shows from then on with a grain of salt. So let's just focus on what happens by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. we start to see a convergent area here just to the north of the North Kimberley coastline. We continue to watch this other low out here, and by tomorrow night we don't really notice too much happening with the low pressure region out here in the Kimberley, and not really much happening out here in the Indian Ocean either. But as we head towards Saturday morning, we do start to see a low pressure region forming now, a low pressure centre forming out here to the northwest of Derby, and we start to see some decent northwesterly flow to it, 20 to 30 knot northwesterly flow. We also see some 15 to 20 knot easterlies underneath it, so good convergence starting to happen in this area. We also see this low pressure area out here continuing not to do much, but we also see that they're very close together. Now, be aware what I said to you when we looked at the access model. If they get too close together, they're going to limit each other's potential to rapidly intensify. So it's not a case of they feed off each other. It's a case of they actually steal off each other. They steal a lot of the northwesterly flow. They steal a lot of the southeasterly flow. They steal a lot of inflow at the surface. And so what it does is it actually slows down the development process. And so this model shows them very close together. If they don't happen that close together, well then we've got a completely different scenario. So let's continue on to Saturday night. We continue to see this low pressure area just here, and we see good northwesterlies, good southeasterlies, but really not developing, not doing anything. So by Sunday morning, it's very, very close to the coast. This other area here is also out here, remaining a long way off the coast. It's still not doing anything, and it's too close to the coast to really get itself going at that point in time. So if we look towards Sunday night, it's either hitting the coast or grazing the coastline. Look at this northwesterly flow coming here, gale force northwesterly monsoon coming to the north of it, so really strong monsoon coming in behind it. As we head towards Monday morning, we see the system back offshore, and now it's got a chance just offshore of the Broome region to actually get itself going. As we head towards Monday night, we see the system pushes to the south, and as we head and we see still this really, really strong monsoon flow. Interestingly, that low pressure area is now completely out of the picture, out to the west. And as we head towards Tuesday morning, we see that the system is starting to get gales wrapping around both its north and its south, so probably close to being named a tropical cyclone at that point in time. As we head towards Tuesday night, we see the system has now made landfall as a very, very weak cyclone or very strong low. Now, remember what I said though, is it's all dependent on how slowly this model has it actually developing. And look, when it's got such a massive northwesterly flow to it, it's not going to take too much to spin it up a lot faster than what you're seeing here. So I'm a bit dubious about this forecast from the European that's come out today. I just can't see it just can't see it here on the coastline. I just can't see such a strong northwesterly flow not really impacting this system with the convergence coming in from the south as well, not impacting this system impacting this system more than the level that this is showing us. Let's have a look at an alternative scenario from the GFS. Okay, so the GFS is already picking the system up, but it's already pushed it a little bit too far to the south by tomorrow morning. So it might be a little bit off to start with, but it looks like it's a little bit more on the ball with what's going on than the European. As we head towards Friday night, once again, the big issue with this model is that it tries to spin lows and cyclones too fast. So don't be surprised if what you're seeing on your screen, it tries to spin it up way too quickly. And you can see here by Saturday we've got a very strong tropical low with a gale force northwesterly monsoon. Now the key difference here by Saturday is that we don't have another low that's really affecting. Look at this low out here is far too weak. It's not really affecting this particular system's development. And that's the key difference between the two models at the moment, is that there's no competing influence with two different lows trying to compete for the same amount of energy in the area. So we then have this particular system by Saturday night starting to look quite cyclonic. We've got gale force to the north, gale force to the south, not quite close to the centre of the system though, so it may still be a little bit off. By Sunday morning, we see the system has now turned into a tropical cyclone with gale force winds wrapping around the centre, and by Sunday night we see that the system really starts to intensify off the coast here of Broome, probably a couple of 300-400 k's off the coast, and as we head to Monday morning, we see that the system is now becoming a Cat 2 and possibly starting to look at a Cat 3 by Monday night. You can start to see here a lot more symmetrical. It gets off the coast too, and that's another key difference between the two global models too. This one pushes it well off the coast, allows it the space to develop, as well as those really nice conditions that both models are suggesting will be present. And if we push towards Tuesday morning, we see that the system is probably a Cat 2 or 3, and as we head towards Tuesday night, we see that the system's really ramping up in intensity now. We're talking significant severe tropical cyclone at that point in time to the north of Headland, and pushing sort of southwards. Now, one thing I can tell you folks from many years of watching cyclones, and especially the WA ones, when they start to push towards the south, they develop an outflow channel, and when that happens, don't be surprised if you see rapid intensification of systems that push south, more so than the systems that push west or push southeast. The ones that push south tend to rapidly intensify in the southeast Indian Ocean. So that's something else, just something that we've picked up from many years of watching these cyclones as they operate in the northwest. Just to give you an idea of potential intensity, it's about 964 hectopascals on Tuesday is what the GFS model is suggesting. But look, it rapidly intensifies it then on its approach to landfall as a significant Category 4 or 5 tropical cyclone. So it's just amazing to see just how variable the models are in their predictions. As I say, we'll know a little bit more once that low pressure area does develop and the models fully pick up on it. Probably by tomorrow we'll start to get a better indication, a little bit better consensus from the guidance. But really, it won't be until Sunday or maybe even early Monday morning before we have a much clearer idea of what's going to happen and how strong things are going to get. This is another model we like to look at. The UK Met model is number 2 in the world, and this one, it's just difficult to find freely available data from it. So, but this is one that we love to use because it did so well during Tropical Cyclone Oswald in Queensland. It predicted the flooding, it predicted a lot of the direction that Oswald moved over inland Queensland. So since then we've really focused a bit more energy in this particular model, and it says that in 42 hours time we'll see a really good low pressure area to the northwest of Broome, and we'll see that rapidly intensify. Now look at this rapid change in colours here. Now the colours represent hectopascal changes, pressure changes in the system, and so we've gone from about 1,000 to 1,010 hectopascal system on the 24th, the 22nd, 23rd, and then by the 27th, by the time it makes landfall, we're starting to talk a 950, 960 severe Category 3 or 4 tropical cyclone as it crosses the coast near 80 Mile Beach. Now remember, once again, model projection, nothing to say it's true, but it has very good support from ensemble. Now, do you remember the European model, the one I showed you that had the system crossing out here near Broome as a very, very weak tropical cyclone because it hugged the coast? Well, guess what, folks? That particular model is also run another 50 times every 12 hours. Now, over the course of those 50 runs, I can tell you now that what that model shows you, that individual model shows you, is not what the actual model overall is suggesting. The overall model is suggesting that we're going to see a significant tropical cyclone, possibly a severe tropical cyclone, off the Pilbara coastline at the Wednesday period. So this is what we call an ensemble look at the ensemble modelling from the European, and we can see fairly good agreement that this system is not going to be a coastal hugger, and we're going to see some chances of some significant deepening of the system, and possibly pushing more so towards the Kimberley as opposed to the Pilbara. But obviously, sorry, the Pilbara as opposed to the Kimberley. But obviously, if you're in the Western Kimberley, we do need to pay attention to the fact that the individual run is still suggesting a crossing near Broome. But overall, I need you to understand that the guidance that we have access to, now we don't have access to all of it, but the guidance that we have access to is suggesting this 80 Mile Beach area is a potential hotspot. Now, it's a long way away, and that will change, so please bear that in mind. But what I want to show you is that just because the model that we show you is not necessarily this exact thinking of the model group. And so the model group is thinking that this system will be much stronger, and it will also be located a lot further to the west than the individual model said to us or showed us. And you can even see that much clearer when we start looking at the GFS ensemble. We really see that it's targeting that headland to 80 Mile Beach area, really is where its target lies. Now, remember once again, the model this morning was showing us a crossing to the north of Broome, but the ensemble, the group of its models, was showing us the same scenario that it's showing us tonight. So not much changes. The ensembles don't change very quickly, and so they're a much better guide at tropical cyclone movement, especially when the cyclone hasn't formed yet. So we're seeing that overall the model consensus is that this 80 Mile Beach and the Pilbara region, and possibly heading north towards Broome, but more likely south of that, is really going to be the spot that needs to watch for this system. So folks, it's clear as mud at the moment. I hope it's clear as mud to you, because it's clear as mud to us. But overall, we're looking at a significant tropical cyclone still possibly impacting the Pilbara coastline or that 80 Mile Beach area, even as far north as Broome at this stage. So nowhere on that Pilbara is safe at the moment, because there's just too far away and the models haven't initialized this low pressure area yet. They should do so in the next 24 to 48 hours, and things should become clearer by the end of the weekend. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. I'm sorry if I haven't cleared that up for you, but hopefully things will happen over the next couple of days that will clear it up for you, make it a lot more clear. At the moment, make sure your cyclone kits are prepared if you live anywhere sort of Derby southwards, towards Exmouth or Onslow. Alright, thanks very much for watching. We'll talk to you again tomorrow night.